Today we have the wonderful Nick from Collective Rising as a guest on our podcast. Nick, how are things in Alberta? I think you live.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, things are good. It's a very interesting time to be a human, as you know, and everyone listening to this is well aware of. And yeah, life is good for sure.
And boy, did our souls choose a very key time or key moment in time to come and experience this, whatever's happening on the collective. And I'm sure you'll have something to share with us about because you do have a business called Collective Rising. So for people who have are just hearing about you for the first time, what's the simplest way to describe what you're up to right now?
Perfect. So I would say it is a collection of modalities and techniques and styles of healing that I've found to be personally the most beneficial along my own healing, growing evolution. And now I'm in a position where I am bringing those to other people and am helping other people through those ways that I've personally found to be most beneficial for myself.
Okay, so this is your current now. Can you take us back a little bit and share with us what did your life look like before you got here? And when was the light bulb moment that you received where you knew something had to change? Walk us through that.
Perfect. So my journey to be sitting in front of you today really started in about 2017. So at that time, I was married. We had two young kids at home. We were living in a small town just south of Calgary. It's not that small, actually. Okotoks.
Oh,
Living there, and I was working in Calgary for the Calgary Police Service at that time. I was working in a unit called the Gang Suppression Team, and so two little boys at home. We were pregnant with our third, and at that time we ended up losing that baby, and I was not emotionally, spiritually, physically, I just wasn't there for my wife during that difficult time. So with the benefit of hindsight, I was really starting to feel the effects of PTSD, and not to give myself any excuses. I definitely wasn't showing up as the best version of myself at that time. So a lot of numbing, distracting, alcohol was a part of my life that was an unhealthy relationship that I had with that substance. And so that's basically what my life looked like at that point. And in that challenging time, my wife found a local lady who was doing energy work and body work and some really cool healing. And I had no idea what that even was at that time. And my wife was able to find a lot of benefit through those different alternative, I'll say, healing modalities, and was really able to help her through that difficult time where I just simply wasn't there for her. So fast forward a few years, just bumbling along through life, not really having any insight into anything that was going on with me, into early 2020. And that's when that light bulb that you described, that's when it
mhm.
came on for me. And I realized that what I was doing wasn't going to be sustainable in the long run. And I needed to make some changes. And so where I was at that point was my sleep was the big thing that I was noticing was not right. I wasn't able to sleep in between my night shifts. So I was working, it was a heavy night shift job being in that gang suppression world. And so at the end of 4 12-hour night shifts, I was just really run down, not very good at work, not good at home. Just, yeah, things weren't going very well. And so I admitted for the first time that something wasn't right. And I went to my doctor, and they ended up restricting my hours to midnight, which effectively ended my time in that gang suppression team. And so I was able to move into another spot with the Calgary Police, actually working from home at that time, because now we were into the spring of 2020 and we all know what was going on in the world at that point. And so I thought I really had it made, actually. I was, like I said, working from home on a laptop. It was the first time in my, at that point, it was about 13 years into my policing career. And so first time that I wasn't, dealing face to face with people. And so I thought it was all good. And then when that online world really changed for me was when George Floyd was murdered by a police
Mm.
officer in Minneapolis. And my all of a sudden cushy online gig became like the worst place to be in policing, in my opinion, through that summer of 2020 with the defund the police movement and all of that was going on, combined with what was in hindsight PTSD for me. And so I pushed through that summer and was still no insight into what was going on. And September 16th of 2020, I opened my laptop one morning and I was in a unit where I was running the social media for the Calgary Police Service. And so there'd been a bunch of messages come in overnight from a young lady through Facebook that were a cry for help. She was suicidal and was reaching out for help. And for the first time in my policing career, I went into this freeze state where my world just came crashing in on me and I wasn't able to act. I wasn't able to really think. I was just frozen in this like catatonic state. And I don't know how long I was in that for. My wife ended up coming into the room and seeing that something was obviously wrong with me and was able to snap me out of it. And I broke down for the first time as an adult. I cried and I had no idea what was going on with me, but I knew that what I was doing wasn't working. And so just to describe what I was doing in terms of dealing with or not dealing with those traumas that I'd collected through my career in law enforcement, I would not even let myself think about those hard calls. So I had about 4 that were those ones that when I'd be reminded of them with a smell or a location or any other number of ways, I'd go through this weird thing in my head where I'd go, nah, it's not PTSD and I'm not thinking about that anymore. And I would just push it down. And that's what I'd been doing for, like I said, it was a better part of 12, 13 years at that point. And so the way I look at it is I had a certain capacity to trap those things, those hard, difficult situations. And in that moment, that cup or that container overflowed. And I was basically forced to finally deal with my stuff, which with hindsight ended up being one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Because without that punch in the face, I don't know if I would have ever went down the road to heal and process those traumas. So I was very open to whatever was being offered to me by the Calgary Police Service. So contemporary psychologists and occupational therapists and different things like that. I was doing CBT and EMDR and exposure this and trauma that and all of these different therapies that for me personally, what I found was I got to a point where I was just retelling my trauma stories and not actually processing anything. I was very willing and wanting to deal with my stuff, but for me, those therapies just weren't getting me to the core where I was able to move that energy. And I think that was the big missing piece, was there was no attention being paid to the energetics of trauma. I was being dealt with like a broken machine, and there was just no emphasis and no attention being paid to that energetic component. So fast forward about a year and a half, I was diligent in doing all of those therapies. And after, that 18-month period, I was at an all-time low in my mental health. At that point, I was diagnosed with PTSD and they called it severe. And I just needed to do something radical. Basically, what I was doing wasn't getting me to the person that I wanted to be and show up as. And so at that real rock bottom place, I made the decision to start listening to my intuition. And what my intuition was guiding me towards was plant medicine and shamanism based energy medicine space. And I did not know what that was going to look like. So, ironically or not, I had spent a good chunk of my policing career in drug enforcement specifically. So I started with the RCMP in 2005. I went to Depot in Regina, Saskatchewan, and came out from there and then worked in the RCMP on the street in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Did that for a number of years and then got into a drug unit with the RCMP, and then left the RCMP in 2011, went to Calgary Police Service and worked a couple of years downtown Calgary on the street again, just taking calls as they come in a busy city of 1 point whatever million people it was at that point. And then I got into something called the Drug Undercover Street Team. So I was working undercover in the drug world. And then from there got into gang suppression, and then that public affairs and media relations unit I spoke about, that was the ended up being the end of my policing career. And so I had done all of these, really pointy end places and worked in this drug world. And now all of a sudden I was being guided towards medicine work, which didn't make logical sense to me, but I was done with logic at that point. I knew I needed to do something radically different. And so I Googled shaman psychologist and I found one, and she was willing to work with me, and she happened to be out of Calgary. And so around that time, I had, again, intuitively started growing my own mushrooms like a good drug cop would do, I guess. And
Okay, well, hang on one
yeah,
second. The narcotic street drug scene is a lot different than the medicinal, spiritual, alternative modality. So, yes, you've been exposed on the extreme side of abuse in the street at the street level. And then your path takes you towards, okay, there's something else on this other side of these non-traditional healing approaches that your intuition kind of guided you to. So yeah, I can see in your mind the logical police work and okay, I think there's something here. You had to battle that to be able to say, okay, I found the shaman, she's willing to do the work, let's do this.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is great on you for having had the intuition to actually go that direction. So explain a little bit on you how you were able to work with in your mind, work with the fact that street drugs and non-traditional healing approach. And then how did you justify, okay, I'm even though I'm from this scene, I'm okay in doing that.
So it's a bit of a gray area,
Okay.
legality. So I ordered a kit from online that was spores, so not illegal at that point. So it was
Okay.
inoculated grain that I mixed with substrate and then created the perfect conditions for the fruiting body of the mushroom to grow. So it's not illegal until it becomes that fruiting body, which is the mushroom part that ends up getting dried and consumed. So I knew there was some
Gray
legality
zones.
gray area. Yes, absolutely. And another big part of this was I was not interested in a pharmaceutical, and I wasn't interested in getting a plant medicine from someone else
Yeah.
where they were grown in a clandestine underground, hiding from the law, like that energy. I wanted no part of that in this medicine that I was going to use to heal. And I say medicine very intentionally, like you just brought up, that these substances, when used intentionally and in the right set and setting, are very much a medicine. And in fact, a lot of what we call medicine now are drugs, and a lot of what we call drugs are in fact medicine. So yeah, I just wanted to be clear on that point. And so I was very intentional about the way I was growing these mushrooms. Yeah, in fact, I took it kind of to another level, and just again through my intuition I grew them on a sacred geometry clearing plate. And at that point, I'd taken a couple of levels of Reiki. And so I was doing Reiki on these mushrooms as they were going through their
Mm-hmm.
growth cycle. And on January 28th of 2022, my wife and I traveled back to Calgary. We weren't living in the area anymore. Life had really taken us on a bit of a right turn.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went back to Calgary, and it was actually our 10-year wedding anniversary on that day.
Oh,
No
wow.
coincidence again. And that piece that I was missing in those contemporary therapies, that energetic piece that was never had any attention paid to, was
Mm-hmm.
now front and center and a huge part of this ceremony. So there was drumming and calling in of space protection and just all of that stuff that now I am just very much in alignment with. That was sort of my first introduction to it. And it was beautiful. And so I held this medicine that I'd grown in that very intentional way to my heart. And I read my intention that I'd written out in my journal. And the gist of that was to finally process at a really deep level those situations, calls, traumas, whatever you want to call them, that I was previously trapping and using my life force energy to contain within my physical body. After having gone through that ceremony portion, consumed this medicine that I'd grown, and without any resistance or even thinking about it, I went back chronologically to very early days in my RCMP career, to that first hard call that I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
let myself think about since the day it had happened. And at that point, it was well over a decade earlier. And I was able to see it from another perspective in that altered state of consciousness. And that perspective was that me holding on to this thing, 12 whatever years later, certainly wasn't helping the people involved in the situation, and was definitely not helping me or anyone around me. And then the other part was this radical level of compassion that I've never previously experienced. And that compassion was for the people involved in the situations. And so a lot of them, or not a lot, sorry, I should say 3 out of the 4 were suicide related calls that I dealt with in my policing career. And so compassion for those people and what their lives and what their trauma and what their story must have been to get them to the worst day of their life. And when I just happened to be that police officer that was called to their situation. And so another part of it was that same level of compassion for myself, in that I became a police officer to help people. And that turned out to be a little bit naive, for sure. I never really felt like I was able to help people in the way that I would have liked to, or I hope to, I guess. And so all of those factors, that perspective shift and then the compassion, I was finally able to move that energy and no longer have that containing tendency. And so I worked through my entire career in chronological order, just like it was the most natural thing in the world. And I truly believe that they're called magic mushrooms for a reason. And for me, it was that intention piece and how they did exactly what I asked and what my intention was. It was, you can't make this stuff up. And so worked through my whole career, like I said, in an afternoon. And in the hours and days and weeks following, it certainly wasn't like a light switch had been flipped, but I was definitely starting to feel better. It had taken a long time to get to that point. And so it was taking some time to come out on the other side. And so that was January 28th, 2022. Around February, and just to give you some context too for what was going on in the world, that was when the Freedom Convoy was on their way
Mm.
across our beautiful country to
Right.
Ottawa.
Yes.
And so for me personally, it was the first time that I was feeling hope in a long time. I had really felt isolated and was starting to think that I was the only one who was questioning what was going on.
Mm.
And as a police officer, it was really hard to watch the mandates and how things were enforced and how the police were used in what I believe were um, unlawful ways by governments. And so that was what was happening at that time. No coincidence, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So in about a week later, after my healing journey, one night, what the straw that broke the camel's back for me was watching members of the Ottawa Police Service steal fuel from the truckers that were there lawfully to try and have a conversation or get their point across to our government. And when I saw that, it was just like a line had been crossed, that I genuinely believed that the police were here to help people. And when I saw that, I just had this realization that the government was having influence in policing operations, and it just went against everything that I believe in and why I became a police officer. So that night I wrote a couple of page entry in my journal, and it was directed towards other police officers to just have them really stop and question what they were being ordered to do. And so after I had written it, I thought, well, I'll just record myself reading it. So I sat down at my desk and videoed myself reading this thing out of my journal. And then once I'd done that, I thought, well, I'll just post it to this group that I'm a part of. And it
You've
was,
gone this far anyways. You might as well go
yeah,
all the way now.
yeah. So it was called Police on Guard. And so it was
Okay.
a group of law enforcement, military people that were thinking the same way that I was. And I posted to that group and went to bed, didn't think anything of it. I woke up in the morning and my little video had been shared outside of that group, and it went
Mm.
like it went all
Viral?
across the world. It received hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views, and it was really wild, actually, that time. And just to think about, it was about a week after my healing journey. So my
Mm.
healing journey had like unlocked this piece of me that I was suppressing and keeping in. And
Speaking your truth.
speaking exactly, it's exactly
Yeah.
what I did. And so that attracted some really positive attention from people all over, and also some quite negative attention,
Yeah.
specifically from the Calgary Police Service, being that I was still employed by them at that time. And I did identify myself as a police officer in the video. And so I received a couple of phone calls from HR and a registered letter in the mail ordering me not to speak publicly. And so I stopped posting anything and just kind of went
Because your
dark again.
livelihood depended on it too.
It did. Yeah, absolutely. About 6 weeks after my healing journey, I was tested by an independent psychologist. So it was ordered by WCB. I went and did this half day of testing, and they, of course, didn't know that I'd done this, medicine journey.
Yeah.
And so it was a couple days after that assessment, got a call from this psychologist, and she let me know that I no longer met the criteria for any diagnosis. So I'd gone from severe PTSD in January. Now we were in kind of early March, and I no longer met the criteria for any diagnosis. So really profound. And it was really good news, but at the same time, it came with some repercussions, because now
Mm.
without a diagnosis, the Calgary police were like, all right, time to go back to work. And
Yeah.
I had
Back to
really
the
come.
trauma zone.
Exactly. And that's how I looked at it, was that if I were to go, I was feeling a lot better and things were trending in the right direction. But if I were to go back into that world, I felt like I would end up re-traumatizing myself. And
Mm.
then I'd also really come out of alignment with policing, as I've just spoken about. And so with the amazing support of my wife and her family, made the decision to have me resign from literally the only career I'd ever known. I was in my early 40s at that point, and I'd started as a security guard at 19 years old at Chinook Center in Calgary, Alberta. And So my entire adult life, over half my life, was in that world. And I walked away on April 20th of 2022 was my last day as a police officer. So 420, it just happened to be the day when all my leave and everything. It's, again, no coincidence. And I see
Mhm.
you, universe. And so I, yeah, resigned and walked away. And without now being silenced by my profession, I went to City Hall in Calgary, and there was freedom rallies happening there regularly. We were still locked down in our own country, as you probably remember. Weren't able
Mhm.
to fly or go on a train unless you were,
Across the border,
yeah, unless you'd had the
the
medical
thing.
intervention that was being
Yeah.
pushed on everyone. And so I read my resignation letter at this freedom rally at City Hall, and it just really felt good for me personally to no longer be silenced by that profession, and for me
Mhm.
again to just be able to speak my truth and just be myself. And so the time since that has really been that process continuing and me stepping into what I truly believe I'm here to do, and that's to help other people through their dark stuff and through their hard times and through their traumas. And with what I've learned personally and what I've experienced, I've gained a lot of tools to be able to do exactly that. And so since then, I found breath work to be very helpful. And so I facilitate what's called 9D breathwork sessions for other people. And I've also just wrapped up a program learning something called sacred alchemy from an
Mm.
Algonquin medicine man. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
shamanism is basically the best way to describe it. So just indigenous earth-based energy healing and shamanic journeying, and just really wild and profound healing experiences. And then I've also finished a program called Somatic Relational Trauma Informed Practices for Medicine
Mm.
Assisted Facilitation. Just rolls off the tongue, I
So
know.
awesome. Yeah.
So again, just the things that have worked for me, most beneficial, most bang for my buck on my own journey have been medicine work, energy work, and breath work. And so I've learned how to facilitate all three of those for other people. And in a combination with my story and telling people my story, to give them the, I would say, knowledge that there are alternatives and there are ways to successfully and effectively deal with our stuff that don't involve more contemporary therapies and sitting in psychologist offices for the next whoever knows how long.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong or bad with those therapies. They help a ton of people. It just wasn't the thing for me. And so yeah, that's been the last few years for me.
So when you do your sessions, can you explain, is it one-on-one? Is it in groups? Is it a destination? Or do you do a combination? Can you expand a little bit on what does it look like working with Nick in one or all of these modalities in sessions?
Yeah. So the breathwork sessions specifically, I do them one on one, and I do private sessions in people's homes. I have people that have me come for their birthday celebrations to
Oh,
facilitate a breathwork for them and their loved ones. And then
that's a
also
great
in,
idea.
yeah, it's wonderful. It's so exciting when people are looking to do something radically different like that. That's, well, beneficial for everyone, including themselves, and just such a different way to celebrate an important date like that. So
Can the breathwork sessions be done remotely as well?
they can, yep. And I facilitate those online as well.
Okay.
And so 9D breathwork, specifically, you wear a headset or earbuds, and you wear an eye shade, and it's a very immersive. It's a somatic breathwork experience with 8 other things going on. So there's solfeggio frequencies. It's tuned to 432 hertz. There's neurolinguistic programming, binaural brain entrainment. There's a whole bunch going on in addition to somatic breath work, which is super powerful by itself. And so, yeah, those events can be done interconnectedly over the internet or in person in groups or private one-on-one. And with the energy work, the sacred alchemy, that can be done again interconnectedly as well. I do a lot of the sessions over Zoom, over the computer. And because, as you know, there's no such thing as time and space, and there's nothing
Mhm.
separating me from you on that energetic level. And so it's super effective to be done over the computer. And I can also do those sessions, of course, in person as well. And I also blend that energy work, sort of a basic level of it, during breathwork sessions. So I get people's permission to do energy work on them while they're doing their breathwork session. And so that happens in person, though, generally. And then I can also do the third part, which is the medicine work. So that's in person. That's something that, yeah, needs to be one-on-one in person for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the medicine work. When you find the right person that expresses interest in doing something similar to you for similar reasons, and you arrange an in-person thing, what type of pre-journey work do you walk them through, and do you decline some people based on that pre-journey work?
Yes, and yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
there's a lot of um, there's time that I put in with the person, so to get a feel for them and what they're truly looking for. And then there's a lot of pre-session work, just really dialing in on what that root cause, what that thing is that needs to be worked on. So, when you get into medicine, exactly what is going to be coming to the surface. There's not going to be any big surprises or anything. You get really clear before there's any medicine involved. And yes, there's people that are just not the right fit for me personally, and definitely I listen to that intuition. And yeah, it needs to be the right fit for both people, for myself and for the client themselves.
Okay, so let's say it is the right fit, and you have a green light from you, you have a green light from them. What does it look like as next steps?
Yeah, it would look like a discovery chat, of course, and then I would do the pre-session work like I've described. So we would do some sacred alchemy work, might even do some breathwork sessions, and then at some point there you would have to travel to. I'm located in Sylvan Lake, and so physically be in the same place. And
Beautiful little town, by the way. I spent some time there on a business trip. I gave myself a couple of extra buffer days, and I camped in the provincial campground,
nice.
kind of with the lake view. And it was I kind of fell in love with that little town. It's very unique, and it's like 10 minutes west of Red Deer, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's just a quick story. So just before my breakthrough happened, all of that. So very early in 2020, I went to tarot. I had a tarot card reading for the first time in my
Mm,
life,
interesting.
and she told me that I was no longer going to be a police officer and that I was going to live by water. And I, at that point, was still in gang suppression. I was like, "What are you talking about?" Still had 8 years left in my career before I could retire. And anyways, she nailed it, and even down to where I live now. So you can't make this stuff up.
Wow. Awesome.
It's just a matter of making it work for schedule and whatnot, and coming together in that time and space, and just really getting clear on what it is that needs to be worked on. And just a willingness to, you don't have to relive anything. And I think that's something that
Mm,
I've really learned through my healing journey is I've built these things up, these traumas and hard situations in my head, thinking that, oh, it's going to be so hard and so difficult and so challenging to go back to that place. And what I've found time and time again is that it's not at all what I've built it up to be. In fact, a lot of my healing journeys have been beautiful in a way, and just really profound and almost enjoyable, I would say, even though it's difficult terrain, but it's just, when done right, it's a beautiful thing.
And how long does this in-person journey last?
The medicine, like with medicine specifically,
Yeah.
it does depend on the medicine that you use, but it's a fairly long day. It's between 5 hours on the low end and up to 7, 8 on the high end.
Okay. Now, another thing that you also have is a clothing brand. Can you tell us what the clothing brand is? Why you chose to get into clothing? And I believe you have a brand for your flow state design, and you also have another brand for your other business, Collective Rising too, right? So you got two different gear or brand wears. Tell us about the flow state design clothing line.
Yeah, so this is so interesting because it all ties into my journey. So in
Hmm.
early 2020, again, right around the time I went to the for the tarot card reading and that my sleep was all messed up, I I was looking for a locally made natural fiber t-shirt, and I couldn't find one. I could find some really cool brands that were designed in Canada but made over in Bangladesh, or really nice like organic cotton, but again they were made in China or wherever, and so I
Hmm.
could never find one that would check all of those boxes. And so with being where I was at that point, I thought, well, what the hell, like I'll just build it myself then. And so I had this idea very specific of what I wanted this thing to feel like, just the fit and the fabric and just the energy of it. And it turns out that it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, like most things are in life.
Yeah.
So it took me, it was about 2.5 years to get from idea in my head to physical product ready for sale. And so
Mm.
it's been a really interesting journey. And what I look back on fondly is it really did give me a positive direction and a positive focus during that really challenging time transitioning out of policing and going through everything that I went through. It was just a real anchor for me. And I'm actually, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I'm just really proud of what I've been able to create. Yeah, it's exactly what I wanted, and I've been able to create it. It's just something in policing that you don't ever get, is like that satisfaction at the end of the day where you've made something or built something or created anything. It's all very intangible, and then you think you've done good, and then 2 years from now the charges that
Mm.
in the investigation gets thrown out because of some technicality. So anyways, with this I can physically touch this thing that I've created that came from my mind into the reality. And so it's been really cool. And then so that's called Flow State Designs. And right now I have men's t-shirts. I am actively working on a woman's specific tee. And so the fabric it's hemp, organic cotton, and it does have a small amount of spandex for that stretch. So it's 97% natural, so 53% hemp, 44 organic cotton, and something that I couldn't find in the market. And so here it is. And that intention piece carries through to the clothing. Every part of this is very intentional. From I source the fabric from a local wholesaler, and of course it needs to be the right composition. I get the tags made here in Canada by the only tag maker left in this country, is my understanding. I get everything sewn in Calgary, Alberta. So it just really is in alignment with me. I love to keep local money in our local economies, and it's something I'm very passionate about. And then just one more thing is on the intention pieces. So I have a piece of clear quartz crystal sewn into the care and content label. So if you feel your label there on the left side sewn inside, you'll
Okay.
feel
Yeah.
you'll feel a little lump of something inside there.
And for the viewers, I had ordered stuff from Nick, and it actually showed up like a couple of hours before this podcast was recorded. So
Oh,
in this
sorry.
cabinet.
Inside on the care and content label, same side but lower
Oh
down.
yeah, this one
So
here.
yeah, inside there, I have a
Oh
piece
yeah, I
of
feel it. Yeah,
there's a piece of clear quartz crystal that I've had sewn in there that I've sent positive energies and
I
just
love it.
good vibes basically is what I've sent to it. And so now you're wearing high vibrational clothing. So hemp vibrates at a really high rate on the megahertz scale. Just to put it in perspective, a healthy human vibrates around 75 to 100 on this scale. A diseased or dying human vibrates around 25. Polyester or synthetic fibers vibrate between about 0 and 5, so they're actually pulling life force energy out of you. And conventionally grown cotton vibrates around 50. Organic cotton is around 75, so around the same as a healthy human. And then linen and wool, linen is flax, it vibrates around 2000 along with wool. And hemp, as far as I can tell, it's actually been very difficult to find an actual number. It's somewhere in the ballpark of linen and wool. So it's in that 1,000+ range. So it's just a super high vibrational fabric. Never mind all of the benefits you get from wearing natural fiber. So the fact that it's antimicrobial, antifungal, it's keeps you warmer when you're cold and colder when you're warm. It resists that smell, because what you smell in that polyester clothing after you've worn it is actually bacteria growth. So the oils from your skin get embedded in that fabric and create the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, where nature, hemp specifically, resists that. And so I wear these shirts multiple, like, kind of an embarrassing amount of days, unless I spill something on myself, of course,
no
uh,
problems.
because they don't stink. And
Huh.
yeah, they're amazing. So anyways, I could go on and on, but I won't.
Well, I will definitely put that to the test for sure. It's the first time I wear it. Um, and relating to your shirts, are they custom made to order, or do you have inventory? Like, how can people that are interested in, oh, before you answer that question, I do have to say that in my experience, clothing does have an impact on your emotional state. And my example is I have a shirt that says great things are coming. It's a simple statement. And when I put that shirt on, I'm feeling on fire and awesome.
Nice.
And when people see it, sometimes I'll wear it when I go at trade shows and stuff like that. People resonate and they respond, "Hey, I love your shirt." So just the wording raises people. So never mind adding the additional layers of the crystal and the intentional and the proper vibration of the hemp clothing. For sure, it has an impact. Okay, what is your business model right now for people that may want to try and firsthand experience and order some of these items from you?
For sure. So the website is flowstatedesigns.ca, and we do have some stock in inventory. Pretty limited in terms of colors and sizes right now, but I can have items from the time you order to the time it's shipped out, and generally even received, in about 2 weeks on kind of the low end, and up to about 3 weeks on the high end. So it's literally made to order. My sewer, she's amazing. She's in Calgary. Fabric is sitting there. So once that order is placed, that gets transferred to her, and it gets sewn intentionally for you and then shipped out. So, and all of the different colors and sizes and styles are available for pre-order, basically on the website, if we don't already have it in stock.
Okay, so let's do this for sizing. I'm 6'3" and a bit. I'm about 215 pounds, and I'm wearing an extra large right now, and it fits well for me. It's got that little tapered design on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
So if somebody is kind of my size, this is an XL. I think it fits like a true XL. And then what size are you, and what's your weight and height?
Yeah, for sure. So just to talk about the length, first of all, is that's something
Yeah.
that I've really noticed and struggled with. I'm a taller guy too. I'm 6'3" as well. And there's just never a time when it's good to see the
Yeah.
crack of a guy's butt. Like it just
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
good. So anyways, I wanted a shirt that's longer. So these shirts are definitely a little bit longer. And
Yeah.
so I'm, like I said, I'm 6'3", and I'm about 195 pounds right now, and I wear a large. And
Okay.
so
So,
yeah,
yeah, speaking of the length, it just goes over my back pocket. So it fills my back pockets at about half.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
so and there's two different
So,
styles you can get. There's one that's a little bit two main different styles. So there's the flow and the basic flow. So I don't recall which style that one is in particular, but if you stand up and show me the side, I can tell you. That
wow.
one's the flow. So that one's
Okay.
the little bit longer
A little longer.
version.
And I like it. I like it a little bit length here.
Yeah, for sure. The basic flow is very similar. It's just less of that curve. Just
Okay.
it still
Less of a
has
bump.
some curve to it, but just a little bit less exaggerated, and then
Yeah.
just slightly shorter. It's only about an inch difference between the two,
Okay.
and then short and long sleeve in all of the different styles.
Nick, thank you so much for being authentic and sharing your story. I know it takes a lot of humility to do what you've done and for trying to become the best version of yourself that you can and setting that example for people out there that might need some inspiration. So I personally thank you and I see what you're doing and gratitude.
Thank you. No, I that, and thank you for what you're doing and for giving me the opportunity to share my story.
You're welcome. So to close out the podcast, I have another podcast called the Better Human Podcast. It's a self-serve podcast that people call in and answer 5 of life's most important questions. I'll walk you through those 5 questions and then you could freestyle and answer them. Question number 1: who am I really behind all of the layers? Who is the Nick?
I am a husband. I am a father. I'm a human. I'm here at a really interesting time. And I feel like I'm here to show people and to guide people through the challenges of this 3D reality, and to be able to navigate that in a positive way, and have those things that seem negative at the time to get to a point where you can alchemize that into a teaching or a learning and use that to be able to move forward in a positive way.
Beautiful. Question number 2: what is the purpose of this game called life?
Oh, to learn, to grow, to experience, to find yourself. And I think those are the goals. I don't think a lot of people achieve those, but I think that's the ultimate goal, is to just really experience this physical reality, and then to be able to create your reality with your thoughts and your words and your actions. I think that's why we're here.
Awesome. Question number 3: what brings you the most joy?
I love connecting with people on a really deep level. Um, yeah, not none of this surface level weather stuff. Like, let's talk about the real
Yeah,
things that are going on, whether it's trauma or what's going on in the world, or extra dimensional beings. I'm here for it. It brings me joy to talk about all of those things.
Question number 4. What is your message to the world? If you could telepathically send a message to every soul in the world, what would that message be?
Breathe, slow down,
Hmm.
um, just take a look at what's really important, and let's just stop all of this crazy fighting and all of the scarcity and fear and all of that, and let's truly live.
Question number 5. How do you want to be remembered?
Words are going to be difficult here. It's going to be a feeling that
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to leave people with, a feeling of being seen, being heard, um, being accepted, and just the overall sense of oh, vitality is a word that's coming to me, and a positivity as well that I would like to be remembered by, even when things are tough. It's certainly it's a lot easier said than done, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but those are the things I desire to achieve and leave people with when I'm no longer here.
We are perfectly human. Question 5.5, the bonus question. How would you describe this realm or the structure of reality?
Um, it's a three-dimensional holographic matrix that we underestimate how much influence we have in our life,
Mm.
in the sense that we are, I believe we are eternal energetic beings having a temporary human experience, and our soul, our essence, our life force is basically animating this avatar that I'm currently embodying while I'm here. And we create the reality that we're in with our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And again, sounds simple, the hardest thing you'll ever do, and I get sucked in all the time, absolutely. But that's the nature of our reality.
Thank you, Nick. This was a very great conversation. I really enjoyed your energy, your presence. I'd love to meet in person one day with you. And yes, you do Avatar very well. Hats off to you, Nick. Keep on your journey. I think you're absolutely on the right track, and you know this because you do get validation from those synchronicities. The universe talks to you and talks to us in different ways. When we're on the right track, things happen effortlessly. When we're on the wrong track, we get these things show up in front of us as guideposts to
Yeah.
tap us back onto the path. We came here for a reason. And the objective, in my opinion, kind of echoing a little bit of what you have explained, is to become the best version that we can of ourselves. And that also connects with questioning and aligning with our soul purpose. The mission that we came here to do as a soul is what? And you'll only discover that if you work on answering that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Nick. I will put your links in the show notes, and hats off to you. You're an awesome dude, man.
Thank you. And yeah, just again, thank you for putting this together and for sharing this with people and for just bringing like-hearted people together. It's really amazing to connect with you, and Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.